Hi there guys, I was expecting bad weather today, but looks like the clouds have broken for a while and the sun's shining through, which is always really nice. It doesn't save everything from being absolutely soaked though at this time of year, which it all is. But I thought I'd do a video today on this particular item here. This is a leather Tinder pouch, and an item that I always carry with me. A very multifunctional item. You can use it for lots of different things, which we'll have a look at later. But I keep all sorts of Tinders in here. Things that I normally carry around and I use on rainy days where I may not want to sort of venture out and have a look around and find resources, and I just want something there and then that I can use to get a fire going very quickly. It's always good to carry something around with you, just in case the weather is really bad and the conditions do get quite miserable. It does save you some effort and obviously lifts morale a bit when you can get a fire going straight out of a fire bag. But I thought I'd do a video today just showing how you can make one of these. This is just a leather pouch, and they're really useful items to have in your pack. You can use them for all kinds of different things, as we'll have a look at later. But first of all, before I go into how you can build one, I'm going to take advantage of this birch tree here. It's been fallen for some time and the bark has started to separate from the wood layer underneath, so it's perfect really to strip nice big sheets of birch bark off, and I can keep those in my tinder pouch because it's probably one of the best tinders that I get along with due to the wet conditions. So making one of these pouches is really easy. I'll just empty mine out and then we'll have a look at how it's made. Now that it's completely empty, you can see it's really basic in its design and very simple to make. It's just a circle of leather with holes punched all around the edge, a piece of leather cord threaded through, and I've just made a bone toggle to go on the end. But if you want to make one this size, you can really make it out of any material you like. You could make it out of synthetic material, so it's got more water resistance to it. You could make it out of some hide you've prepared. Absolutely anything you like, and the cord doesn't need to be leather cord. It could be paracord if you really wanted it to, or some string, or really anything, some natural cordage. You know, it's just a simple leather pouch, but if you want to make one this size, I'll show you the measurements. So when this pouch is drawn up, I get about 6 to 7 inches of space inside, and it's probably about sort of 3 to 4 inches deep, you know, depending on how much I put in it. So you can carry quite a bit of equipment in there, and if you just overfill it, you just find that the top is a little bit more open. You can't sort of do it all the way up like that and seal it. But if you're going to want to make something this size, exactly this size, and if you measure this side to this side here, the diameter of this is 15 inches. So you're going to want to sort of measure something up about 15 inches wide, obviously in a circle or whichever shape you want. You could probably make it into any shape you liked out of any kind of material. But if you're going with something this size, it's 15 inches. And what you're going to want to do with the holes here is you're going to want to punch 48 holes, 1 inch from each other. I usually measure them 1 inch down and 1 inch apart, all the way around. And you can do it by eye if you really want to. I mean, I did this by eye. It's not, you know, it's not sort of science in that respect. So you just end up with some a bit closer together than others. But 48 holes all the way around the edge, about 1 inch apart from each other, and you'll end up with something quite nice like this. And for the piece of cord, I've used leather. The leather is obviously a little bit smaller than the hole, because leather on leather tends to sort of grate a bit and you won't be able to draw it up too nicely, so you want to make sure the cord's a lot smaller than the hole you're punching. You can use anything to punch the hole. You could even cut a square with your knife, you know, onto a piece of wood like that. Put the leather down, cut a square. It will take a long time, but it's, you know, it is a way of doing it. I've made one that way and it's easy to do. Or you could use, you know, just a normal punch that they use for paper, although you might not be able to get enough depth on it. You can get leather punches though, and belt punches, things like that, or even stamp punches that you hammer down to punch a hole with, and you can get those off the internet pretty cheap if you just search on eBay or something like that, and they are really useful actually for doing leather work with. But for the toggle, I do have a piece of leather there, a little leather toggle, and that just acts as a buffer to sort of protect the leather from stretching when I draw it up too tight. I've just got a piece of antler there, and I've drilled a hole through it and just threaded the leather through and then knotted it. And the piece of cord, really just measure it by eye, just thread it through and then see how much excess you've got, and make it any length you want really. You just want to make sure that there's enough cord there, so when you fully open the pouch up, you don't run out of cord and you can only sort of open it this far, for example. You want to really be able to open it up, because then that gives you a few other uses for it, which we'll have a look at now. If you're going to use a natural material like leather, you want it to be slightly water repellent, and obviously leather can be very absorbent. So on this side here, I usually have the suede side on the inside there, and have the outer of the leather just here. And I use some fat. I carry a tin of fat round with me, and I use this on my blades and other kind of bits of metal and on the leather work. And you can rub that in, and it just helps fight away the water when you're putting it down on damp surfaces. I'm always kind of working in damp conditions, especially at this time of year. Everything's absolutely soaked, so I'm just mindful that I want this kind of material to not absorb water and get all my tinder wet. And although there are certain tinders, it doesn't matter if you get them soaked. Like birch bark, you can pretty much dip it in water, take it out, scrape it into a dust pile, tear it apart and light it with a fire steel, and it'll be absolutely fine. There are materials in there that I use for things like candle wicks and other kind of things like cramp balls and fungus, and they will absorb water. So waterproofing the pouch every now and then is a good idea, and if you apply a bit of heat to it, it really will suck up this kind of material and be very waterproof. But this does serve a few other functions, and there's a few things I use it for. I've got a tump here, and the top of the tump is very wet, and I've just put some fat in here and it's nice and waterproof. So what I could do is wrap this around the tump just like that and just draw it a bit tighter. So what this gives you is a nice kind of dry surface to work on, and if you waterproof the underside enough with various oil or fat or any kind of material, even wax would be a really good one. You melt down some wax and you absorb it into this. It'll be quite rigid, but it'll be very water resilient. And what you could use this for is a number of different things. You've got a great work surface to do some work on, although you've got to be careful that you don't cut the leather if you are using a knife. You could even strop your blade on it. Just give yourself a bit of a strop. If you don't have a leather belt on you, for example, or any other material to strop on, and you could just strop your blade and clean a few tools up. It's just quite a useful bit of material to carry around with you. You can see if we take that off there, no water's absorbed in, still nice and dry, the fat's done its job, and you can rest easy that your tinders are going to be dry. So it's quite useful to carry around just a bit of leather on you. I mean, I would probably opt for a leather belt as an ideal strop or something like that, but I don't always carry around a leather belt on me. I don't always wear a leather belt just because I find I've got a different type of belt I find a bit more modular, a bit more comfortable for my kit. But I do like to have a piece of leather on me because it is a very useful bit of material to have. The firelighting methods I use really change with the seasons. At the moment things are really damp or either very frosty and thawing out when the sun comes out, so everything's soaked all the time. So to sort of use tinders that behave like embers and blow into flame, there's just no point in using that kind of method because the processes involved are just too long, for what I'm doing on that day. Drying materials out on your body, and using those kind of embers is just, can be fruitless and frustrating. So for me, just using things like birch bark, and pine sap and sort of resin type material that will ignite and produce an actual flame for me, so I can ignite fire feathers or I can use dead standing wood, is a far easier way throughout the winter for me to make fire, if I want to make fire on that day. So the kind of materials I carry in the pouch really change all the time. It just changes with my mentality, my mood or what I'm doing or what I want to experiment with. But just to give you a rough overview of all the different things I use from time to time and what I experiment with, I've got all these materials here that I've collected over quite long periods of time of going out and just finding them in their natural environment and then collecting sort of samples and playing around with them. So these are generally all the materials I play around with, a whole range of different things, different methods like striking cold sparks on flint and steel or on the back of a knife. Got iron porites there, naturally occurring iron and stone. Got fire piston, don't carry around that really at all. I mean, as I say, I don't carry around all this stuff. I probably carry around some birch bark. I've got some greater reed mason here which I carry around for the core of nests because it's really useful stuff. I do carry around a bit of Ganoderma amadou and a bit of horse's hoof amadou, and obviously this pine sap glue, which is really useful stuff, especially for making woodland matches. It's great. A bit of chaga fungus and sometimes a few cramp balls, and the rest of it is really just for the letter of the day where I might decide to go out and practice fire making in all its glory. I want to take loads of different stuff with me. But you can see there, you can make little pouches as well. If you've got items like cramp balls that, explode and leave black dust everywhere, and you want to keep them in there just in case you're a bit heavy-handed and you don't want it blowing up in the tinder pouch. But another thing I carry in the tinder pouch is a bit of fat, because that goes hand in hand with making candles and obviously maintaining equipment like the tinder pouch, and on knives and various other things. But as far as fire making goes, in terms of a piece of ignition tool, tool for ignition, I just carry around a ferrocerium rod, and that's pretty much it. And the knife's obviously 1095 carbon steel, so it takes sparks too if I really want it to. So guys, I hope this video has been useful on how to make one of these tinder pouches, and you can make them of any kind of material you like, as I'm sure you can take artistic license with it and make one the size of an entire pack if you really wanted to. But they come in all shapes and sizes, and they really are quite useful for storing things. Just a very simple way, drawstring bag of putting various things in. So I hope this has answered questions anyway on the pouch and how to make them and really what I keep in it and various things like that. But if not, just comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But also just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone out there who watches the videos and comments and likes and and watches them. I really appreciate it, and especially thank you to people who have subscribed recently, and welcome to the channel, and I hope you like the videos, and there'll be plenty more to come in 2014. So I hope everybody's well, and as I say, if you've got any questions, just ask me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And take care.